Okay, so if we have a look through the text, Earth is the only, this is the example question, Earth is the only place we know of in the universe. All of the other, just to go through the example question, all of the other answers are not appropriate. Earth is a place, it is a location, it's not a situation, a position, or a site. So the only answer here could be B. Earth is the only place that we know of in the universe that can support human life. Okay, and the first question is an excellent question because it straight away we will get the correct answer to this question if we've done one of the most important things that we need to do for the open close, and that is read through the exercise before we start filling in the answers. If we read through the exercise, we get the context, and that's important here because answer number one is yet. Why is it yet? Oh, because yet is a conjunction, and it's a conjunction that suggests a contrast. That contrast being Earth is the only planet that supports human life, but human life or human activities are making the planet less fit to live on. So there's a contrast there, and yet is the only correct answer that suggests a contrast. Now you're probably thinking, well, as a matter of fact, Simon, there are two other words which suggest contrast, although and despite. And you're absolutely correct, they do suggest contrast. So why is the answer not although or despite? Well, this comes down to sentence structure. Although and despite are subordinate what they call subordinate conjunctions. That's right, they're called subordinate conjunctions. And a subordinate conjunction belongs in a subordinate clause. And a subordinate clause needs a main clause. So what we need here is a sentence with both a subordinate clause and a main clause. Perfect example is a conditional as an example sentence with a subordinate clause and a main clause. So the subordinate clause is the hypothetical if ... and then you have the main clause, which is simple, which will be the first conditional, will be the present simple future. Here, if we go back to our exercise, we can see that this is a simple sentence. There's only one clause in this sentence. There aren't two clauses. So that means we can't use subordinate conjunctions. So although and despite, yes, they suggest contrast, but they don't fit the sentence structure that we're presented with here. If you've got any questions at all, or if I'm speaking too fast, or you don't understand what I'm saying, or if you disagree with me, then please get in contact on the live chat and let me know so I can make some changes. Okay, question number 2. As the Western world, let me scroll up here. Now, let me have a look at my notes. The key word here, as always with open close, is the preposition on. The answer that we've got to choose has got to collocate. In other words, it's got to work with the preposition that follows. So, can we say continues on something, something, something? No, we can't. Can we say repeats on continue something, something, something? No, we can't. Can we say carries on following ... Yes, we can. That collocation works, to carry on doing something. Can we say follows on ... We can. So we're down to C and D. So why? So which one is our answer? The answer is C, and that's because of the language structure which follows. So you've got the preposition, and then you've got the gerund afterwards. So consuming, which is a gerund. Follows on consuming. That pattern doesn't work, or that language pattern doesn't work. So it can't, from a language structure point of view, it can't be follows. And of course, if we have a look at this from the point of view of context, what we need here is a word which means the same as to continue doing something, not necessarily following someone else doing something. So carries on is our answer because 1, it works with the language structure, and number 2, in the context, it means what we need it to mean. In other words, it means to continue. So if we carry on reading, it says, as the Western world carries on consuming 2/3 of the world's resources, while half of the world's population do so to stay alive. We've got we've got four answers here. We've got already stay alive, just to stay alive, already to stay alive, just to stay alive, for to stay alive, entirely to stay alive. What are we trying to say here? What's the message trying to say? Here, what it's trying to say, it's trying to suggest that this is an action that happens for one particular purpose. So we could say exactly for the purpose of staying alive. And that is exactly what just means. I'm going to take you to this tab here. And we need just as an adverb here. And if I zoom into the page so you can have a look at this, you should be able to see it. Let's move the live chat out of the way. Right here, exactly. That's just what I need. You're a human being just like everyone else. And it's this context, this meaning of just that we need for the answer. So half of the world's population to do so just exactly for the purpose of staying alive, just to stay alive. On to number 4. We are rapidly destroying the very resource we have by which all people can survive and prosper. Everywhere fertile soil is. Now, what's the key word here to get the correct answer? The key word for question number 4 is or. So we've got to think of one of the answers which works with or. Now, we can say sooner or, but normally the collocation would be sooner or later, and that language pattern isn't here, so the answer is not sooner. We can't say neither because, of course, grammatically it would be neither nor, not neither or. So we can't say neither. Can we say either? Yes, we can. We can just as neither needs nor, either needs or. So here we've got a choice. So either this or this. Rather or, we can say rather that one. No, we can't say that. No, as saying that, I can't think of an example. If you can think of an example, then please let me know in the live chat. But I can't think of an example where we would say rather this one or the other. Rather is a word that we use for choice. I'd rather have that, for example. So I can't think of a context where we would use rather. So from a contextual point of view, the only answer that we can choose here is either. And of course, that fits the context as well. So everywhere fertile soil is either built on or washed into the sea. Renewable resources are exploited so much that they will never be able to recover completely. We discharge pollutants into the atmosphere, which means we let go of pollutants into the atmosphere without any thought of the consequences. And for question number 5, what we need here, based on the context of what follows, as a ... the planet's ability to support people is being reduced at the very time. So what we have is a linker, which is a conclusion of some kind. So there is an action, and then in conclusion, or therefore, something else happens. So we need a word to finish off the expression, which means the same as means the same as therefore or in conclusion. And the answer, of course, is result. So as a result, the planet's ability to support people is being reduced at the very time when rising human numbers and consumption are what? Let's have a look at the answers for number 6. So are doing increasingly heavy demands, are having increasingly heavy demands, are taking increasingly heavy demands, or making increasingly heavy demands? Of course, the key here is the collocation, and the collocation with the noun, the plural noun, Demands. Can you do a demand? No, we can't. Can you have a demand? Not really. Can you take a demand? Can you make a demand? Yes, of course you can. And which is why the answer for number 6 is making increasingly heavy demands on it. So with all of these open-close questions, whether it's FCE or CAE, you're always looking around the gap. If you can't see the preposition or you can't see the immediate word which you have to collocate with, then you've got to look around the sentence, and the word that you choose, sometimes, not always, because as we saw with number 5, that's an expression, but with very often you have to find the word where the answer collocates with that word, and then if your knowledge of vocabulary is good enough, then you'll get the answer. The Earth's natural resources are there for us to use. We need food, water, air, energy, medicines, warmth, shelter, and minerals to what? That's not going to go up anymore, so I'll just about see that over my head. And once again, to get the answer correct, we've got to think about collocations. We've got to choose the correct verb, which does two things. In terms of language structure, it's got to work with us immediately after us, immediately after the gap. So hold us, maintain us, stay us, keep us. So straight away, we can cross out number C because we can't say stay us. We can say hold us in some contexts. We can say maintain us in some contexts. But keep us, we can say that as well. And then we've got to think of the collocation. So we've got the verb, and then after the verb, we've got, adjectives. We've got plenty of adjectives after. We've got fed, comfortable, healthy, and active. So then we've got to think of collocations between the verb and the adjectives. So can we say hold us fed? Not really. Can we hold us fed, hold us comfortable, hold us healthy, hold us active? Not really, doesn't really work. Maintain us fed, maintain us comfortable, maintain us healthy. Once again, a bit of a stinker. Keep us fed, keep us comfortable, keep us healthy and active. Yes, of course. And that's why the answer is D. We could make maintain work, but we would have to change the structure of the sentence to maintain levels of food, of comfort, of health and activity. We could change the text if we were thinking about this, if we were writing this and thinking about writing this in a different way. We could change the structure to use maintain, because maintain is quite advanced vocabulary, but we would have to talk about maintaining levels of something, but we'll save that for a different video. And so lastly, for number 8, if we are sensible in how we use the resources, they will what indefinitely. Now, the key word here, I'm going to just move myself over. There I am, flying up in the air. I'm just going to, so you can see the answers here. Indefinitely. Indefinitely means forever, which has definitely got a time context. So maybe this word is a clue because it talks about time. And if we bear that in mind and have a look at our answers, then if we can find an answer that also talks about time, then that might be a very good answer. So last. If something lasts, well, that definitely talks about time. So how long will the play last? How long will your toothpaste last? Etc., etc. So a bit of a bad example, but you get the general idea. We can use last to talk about time. Stand. In some political government contexts, perhaps we could talk about standing in position or standing in. Maybe we can't, now that I'm thinking of it. Not really. Standing and time, not really closely connected. Go, that talks about action as opposed to time. Remain talks about staying, also not really a heavy time focus. So if we have a look at that, if we are sensible in how we use the resources, they will last indefinitely. So they will last forever. And certainly if we have a look at the following sentence, but if we use them wastefully and excessively, they will soon run out and everyone will suffer. So clearly the context is about time. So if we bash last, we'll see that it's the correct answer. Good, I'll pop myself back over. There we go, fly again in midair. Okay, if you have any questions at all about, or you disagree with anything that I've said, or any of my explanations are a bit confusing, then please let me know, either in the comments section after this video or now, and I'm quite happy to deal with your questions. I enjoy the exchange.